What's up, y'all? This is Sage. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. So last time I had a video where I was actually talking to you guys about why I upload sporadically and wasn't just rapping at you. I asked you guys to leave comments with any questions that you might have that you wanted me to answer, and I'll do my best to answer them in a future video. And this is that video. So again, thanks for tuning in. Sorry that this has come so late. I've been working a lot, man. Which brings me to one little disclaimer that I should mention. I haven't been able to exercise in a while, and I know that may sound like a weird thing to say, but the reason I'm mentioning is that is because for whatever reason, the longer that I go without exercising, the more definitely scatterbrained I get. So if it sounds like I'm beginning to ramble on any of these questions, I apologize. The reason I'm having to say that is because I'm not going to have a lot of time to edit this video, unfortunately. So this is gonna be one for the die-hard ride or die fans. I appreciate y'all being willing to put up with a little bit of rabbit trailing here or there. Hopefully not too much, but yeah. So what I did was over the past few days, I went back in my channel and basically looked up every question that anyone has ever left me, and I compiled them all. And what I'm going to do my best here to do is just go through them and answer them all in the order that I received them in. So let's get started, shall we? First question comes from Luca K. Asked, is there any way to support you financially? Luca, thank you for asking. Unfortunately, the answer right now is pretty much no. Technically, I guess I do have one song on iTunes. Get It Going is on iTunes at the moment. The only reason that it's on there is because I needed to sign up with the distributor when I did that collab song Dreaming with Hyper Fenton. And I had to upload a single. So that's Get It Going is on iTunes if you might want to check that one out. But other than that, there isn't really anything that you can buy from me, but you can support the channel if you want to, and this isn't meant to be a cop-out answer. This is actually legit. If you like the video, if you like the videos when I post them, and or share them, that actually will help get them more exposure in YouTube and help grow the channel. So, not really financially at the moment. I do appreciate that question, but yeah, just leaving a like goes a longer way than you might think. I'm not a robot. Daniel Rants asked, this is a good one. This is a bit of a difficult one. If I had to critique, I would say from the little bit I've seen / heard, I'm a bit confused about your style or niche. Are you serious or comedic? Are you trying to be hard or relatable? Are you religious and trying to deliver a message, or just rapping about whatever? You clearly have similarities to Eminem, especially in your sound and flow, but I'm also getting a little bit of a Lil Dicky vibe. I'm curious if you have any idea yourself what you're trying to portray, because as a listener, I wasn't quite sure. However, as a whole, fantastic stuff. So thank you, Daniel. Again, this is a dense one. So, I'm sure that you guys have heard that answer that might be a bit cliche at this point. That's like, I don't do labels, man. I just do me. I just make the music and let it speak for itself, man. I don't do categories, which I think it is legit. I think it's valid to an extent, because it's like people and life are complicated, right? So I don't really know that it's possible to fit completely into a box or into a category of Christian rapper or comedic rapper or gangster rapper, etc., without being either disingenuous, by intentionally censoring yourself to stay in your box, or being one-dimensional, just being such a one-dimensional person that you do actually genuinely fit in that box. So yeah, I think that while that, I don't want to fit into a category cliche type answer is legit to an extent, at the same time, I do understand the need to have some level of understanding of who an artist is, and what they represent, you know what I mean? Because if you don't, then you can't know what to think about them. And as far as that goes, what my core objective is, unfortunately, I don't really can't really say at this point because I'm still trying to figure out, what direction to be pointing my life in. But I can tell you what I do know, and what I do know is that I value truth and I value clarity, and I think that the world needs more of both of those. So, I would say just in general that my goal as a rapper is to present the complexity of life with truth and clarity in a way that sometimes makes you smile, sometimes makes you think, but always leaves you wanting more. If that counts as an answer. Hope that answers your question. Sleepy Much said, dude, that emoji right there, I'm with you, man. I've been feeling that for a little while. Man, check out Jake Hill. Knew about him from a Pewds vid too. Jake Hill and Sage collab, please! And then some hashtags. I'd be down, man. I'd be down. And there are a few other questions that were along the same lines as this one, but just with different artists. I like Jake Hill. He has some great stuff out. I think I Am the Real AK was another one that was mentioned. There are a few other ones. And the answer to this question is the answer pretty much to all of them, which is I'd be down, but unfortunately, artists, as you can imagine, that are YouTubers, whatever you want to call it, that are of a certain size, like if you're much bigger than someone else as far as following goes, typically you're not going to want to work with someone smaller. So there are several YouTubers out there that I've reached out to. I'm not going to mention who, but I've reached out to several and haven't heard anything back. But if you want to go bug them and be like, hey, you should work with Sage, then by all means, man, go on ahead. But yeah, I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep reaching out to people. I also have had a few people who have smaller followings than I do now reach out to me, and I'm planning on collabing with them at some point. But there'll be more collabs. There'll be collabs to come. My man PK, good old PK, wants to know. He said, in disclaimer, you said if I was trying to imitate Eminem, you wouldn't be able to tell us apart, or something like that. Would be pretty sick if you actually tried to imitate him in a video. So this one actually, for the detectives in the audience, wasn't actually a question, but I wanted to include this anyways because I got several again that were similar to this one, and also I get the "you sound like Eminem" comment a lot. So I wanted to mention two things in response to this particular observation. First, I wanted to clear up how I feel about the comparison to Eminem, because I do see, and I appreciate this, I do see some people in the comments like replying to those people that are like saying, you sound a lot like Eminem, man, or that like you're biting Eminem or whatever, and some people are like, hey, no, Sage is Sage, don't say that.
But y'all don't say that.
And I appreciate that, but I wanted to like be clear, I don't mind the comparison to Eminem, and this is, there's a lot that goes into this topic that I'm not going to get into right now. The only thing is, because our flows are similar and our vocal cords are similar, and like knowing that, you'll have to trust me when I say I've tried everything that I can think of over the years to be able to keep the complexity of the flow and not like alter my vocal cords somehow and still differentiate myself from him, but it's been really hard. Like my subject matter, my lyrical content obviously sounds nothing like his, but if you have a very similar flow and a very similar vocal cords, which aren't really, something that I can change, there's not a whole lot I can do about that. And also he's, in my opinion, the best rhymer who ever lived, and easily one of the best rappers overall ever. So, the comparison doesn't bother me, and I think it's actually a compliment to an extent. It's just when people say, like, you're trying to sound like him. Like, you need to quit trying to bite Eminem. Like, it's obvious that you're just trying to imitate him. That's where I'm like, I'm not, like, I'm doing the opposite of trying to imitate him. I'm doing my best to, like, consciously stay away from that. But it's just, physically I sound like him, and my flow's similar, so that's why I mentioned in disclaimer, among other things, that, like, if I was trying to imitate him, you would know, because you wouldn't be able to tell that it wasn't him. You know what I mean? Because in my opinion, I can do a pretty spot-on shady impression. So that brings me to point 2 of the response to this question, which is I am going to do that at some point. I've already written actually a couple songs / verses where I plan on imitating him. I'm gonna upload one of them sometime soon, hopefully. Basically just to, like, show you guys what it actually does sound like when I'm trying to imitate him. Methods V said, I was wondering if you have your songs on Spotify or only on SoundCloud. I only have 2 on Spotify at the moment. There's the one that I did with Hyperfenton, which is Dreaming, and then Get It Going. I think Get It Going is also on Spotify. When I have some more time, hopefully in the next couple weeks, hopefully, I'll be able to start putting more on there now that I'm like, I've got everything set up with the distributor. Hopefully I'll be able to get more onto Spotify. Valerie Morozov says, where do you get the inspiration for rhymes and writing, and how do you make stuff not be cringy? How long have you been doing this and what got you started? How did you work on it to improve? Dang, that's a lot of good questions all at once, Valerie. Thank you, Valerie. Where do you get the inspiration for rhymes and writing? Typically, so what I've found is that there are usually a few different things that will inspire me to begin writing, which are a beat, a need to explain something, or listening to other rappers. Meaning, sometimes I'll hear a beat that, like, is just so dope that rhymes just start popping into my head, or an idea for a song just pops into my head and I just start writing to it. Sometimes there's something that's specific that I feel like I need to get off my chest, and in that case the need to speak comes first, and I'll go and find a beat that fits, like, the vibe of what it is I'm needing to write about. And then third, like I mentioned, listening to other rappers, which technically the third one is just like, sometimes I just feel like writing some rhymes. I just feel kind of restless. And in that case, I'll just pull up the nearest instrumental and start writing. But I mentioned listening to other rappers because I've noticed that tends to happen after I've been listening to other rappers. Either rappers that are really good or rappers that are really bad will, like, kind of give me that drive, that urge to write some rhymes. So yeah, those are the 3 main sources of inspiration. How do you make stuff not be cringy? That's actually a little more tricky to answer. But I think in general, and I apologize if this is too vague of an answer, but in my experience, I think really the answer is, like, quality, cleverness, right? So for example, you can write some rhymes, like some wordplay or whatever, that's cheesy, right? You can, like, include a cheesy pun, but if you do it in a way that's clever, this is, from what I've experienced, people will think that it's funny, right? Go back and listen to some, whatever rapper you like, who you think they have some funny stuff, and listen to it. A lot of times what it is that they're including is, like, cheesy, but they do it in such a clever way that it's funny. Whereas if you're writing something that's cheesy and there isn't really anything clever, either clever within the wordplay or within the, like, technical structure of the rhymes, if there's nothing, like, impressive about it, then I from what I've seen, people tend to perceive that as being corny. And, I do also, though, want to make a little distinction, because I think, and I'm going to try not to get too far down this rabbit hole, but I think that, like, society in general tends nowadays to, like, shy away from emotional sincerity. You know what I mean? There's kind of this fine line nowadays where, like, the second that you do or say something that is emotionally sincere, people are like, it's cheesy, It's corny. But it's like, you know, if what you're doing in a way that is self-aware and high quality, I think that the only people that are going to call your stuff cringy or cheesy or corny are people who are just going to say that to anything that is emotionally sincere. You know what I mean? As long as you do your best to stay self-aware and do your best to keep your stuff as high quality as it can be, I think you'll be fine. Again, that may be a little more in depth than you were looking for, but we're doing this thing. How did you work on it to improve? Just like keeping a high standard, you know what I mean, and just always working toward that standard. You know, write whatever it is that you can write right now as a rapper. Go back, listen to it, and if you're not satisfied with it, do your best to, you know, focus and pick apart what is it that's missing. You know what I mean? And be critical of yourself. Hold yourself to a high standard, but don't beat yourself up if it doesn't come immediately, because it's not going to come immediately. But, you know, always, yeah, just keep a high standard, do your best, and figure out, you know, where you can improve, and just work on improving that consciously. Adam said, do you make your own beats? I do not make my own beats, Adam. I usually find them on SoundCloud or on YouTube or MoFlo Beats, MoFlo Production, MoFlo Music Production. He was the guy that made the beat for the H3H3 song. He's also the one that mixed the Rockstar remix for me. He's a freaking genius, dude. He's like a Beethoven of rap instrumentals. He'll hook me up with some beats on occasion too. Theo Last said, question though, you seem to deliberately refrain from cursing. Any reason why? I don't have a problem with it, just curious. Theo, that's a good question. I do deliberately refrain from cursing. I left a more in-depth answer to this question on Theo's comment, if you want to find that, but long story short, I just don't think I don't really think it's necessary. I also don't, you didn't ask this, volunteer, I also don't drink. And the reason is, you know, not necessarily that I think that there's anything inherently wrong with drinking or inherently wrong with cussing, even though it's like, you know, seen as bad manners. Because I without going too much into detail, I had a lot of bad experience with both of those growing up. And I don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to use anything as a crutch. You know, whether that's alcohol or feeling like I need to use profanity. You know what I mean? It's always harder to act within restraints. You know what I mean? But it makes you stronger. So, TVRTA said, try to rap as fast as you can, like faster than Eminem did in Rap God. Think you can? Oh, TV. I know I can. I actually, I wrote something when I was, like 4 or 5 years ago, that was faster than Rap God, significantly faster than Rap God. I just never released it. The thing is, like, when you get anything faster than M's cadence and Rap God, like, it becomes unintelligible. You know what I mean? I might still remember what I wrote though. It was like, what was it? That'll be a moment with no hope, and it bro should have known better when you open my cage. So what if they spit a little bit of venom when, and if a minute fit him and I slit him up with the pen him, a pin him, and never when I hit him, that'll be in, and anyone that'll want to get in him, with him will come and get him. A bit of a wake up call when I rake up all you little fakers crawling under my feet. I'm gonna beat the crap out of white people who want to believe they can brawl. Something like that. Cost said, what software do you use to edit? What hardware do you use during the recording? Just the mic, mixer, etc. So I mix and edit with a freaking old version of GarageBand that I'm actually using to record the audio for this right now. Just GarageBand, dude. Which version of this do I have? GarageBand 09. And for a mic, I actually, hold on, let me grab it real quick. This is the mic I use. It It's a Rode. It's like a Rode NT1. I want to say Rode NT1A, something like that. It's a good mic. It's a really good mic. And the mixer that I use, my buddy lent me his Apogee Duet. This is a killer combination, man. It's a whole lot better than what I used to use. So I owe him for lending me that stuff. I do need to upgrade from GarageBand at some point, but for now, still rocking GB. Asura, who loves Sage? Not me, dude. Freaking hate that guy. A-hole. Slim Shady said, hey, make more of this. I want to be in your vid. Well, too bad. Too bad. You don't get to be in my vid, okay? So, go home. Just kidding, I love you. Joseph Red said, can I download your songs so I can listen to them anywhere? I think that you can download them on SoundCloud. I think you can, yeah. Lbot says, will this channel only be raps? Are you going to talk about other stuff so you can get noticed? Anyways, keep it up, Sage. Thank you, Lbot. I appreciate that, man. Mostly raps, yeah. I'd like to, do other stuff too. And there's other, passions that I have. Like, for instance, I mentioned that I'm passionate about clarity. I know that sounds vague, but at some, what I want to do with my life at some point is I want to help teach critical thinking skills to people. As lame as that may sound, I think that and I've mentioned this in a couple songs, I think that our society as a whole is very anemic when it comes to logic and critical thinking skills. So I might actually start a second channel for that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm always down to talk about other stuff and do other stuff. I think most of the people that are my subscribers are my subscribers because they're a fan of my music. But yeah, dude, I'll be doing other stuff. Reddit Strike wants to know what inspired you to make Get It Going, or why did you make it? It's my favorite song of yours. Thank you, Reddit Strike. What inspired me to make Get It Going? I'm actually glad that you asked about Get It Going in particular, because that one does actually have a story behind it. Try to make it quick. I went to this rap open mic with my buddy, and I was debating on whether I was going to perform or not. I didn't actually perform that night, but it was the first rap open mic downtown that I had been to, and when I went, I just I noticed that all of these the songs that were getting the crowd the most riled up all kind of sounded like they had the same vibe, you know what I mean? They were super intense, you know what I mean? And I realized that I didn't have a whole lot of songs like that. So I kind of walked away that night being I need to make a hype song. And I went home, found a beat, and just wrote the most hype song I could come up with at the moment. So I'm glad that you like it. That means a lot, man. Appreciate that. Fasil Wasim says, if you had $1 for every time someone compared you with Eminem, how rich would you be? I'd be pretty well off, man. I'd be pretty well off. Again, it's not always a bad thing, but it happens a lot. But I mean, at the same time, it's kind of depending on the context that somebody says it in, it's if you're a basketball player and someone's saying you play too much like Michael Jordan or too much like LeBron, I mean, it's yeah, okay, I mean, you're trying to hate on me, but at the same time, at the end of the day, you're saying I sound like LeBron, so play like LeBron. Amir asks, how do you start off writing a song? So I'm gonna answer this as though it's asking this a little bit differently than what inspires you to write a song. As far as how I actually start off, begin writing a song, personally, I almost always start with an instrumental, and just whatever pops into my head first, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I just kind of find the instrumental and just jump in. I don't know if that was a very helpful answer, but that's kind of the truth. Carol Klaesner said, I want to know if you still believe in God. In the song Help, it feels like you lost all hope. That's a really good question, Carol. Thank you for asking. So yes. Short answer, yes. I do still believe in God. The song Help actually wasn't written from my perspective. I wrote it in the third person. I know that a lot of rappers will do that. They'll write about themselves in the third person. And I do that sometimes too, but in the third verse, when I mention I personally know at least for each of both, meaning for each of both of the scenarios in verse 1 and verse 2, that's true, because I have a lot of friends that several friends at least that used to be Christian and aren't anymore. Friends that, grew up in non-Christian environments. I've done a lot of conversing with people who don't believe in God, people who do believe in God, people who don't know what they believe, and just philosophically kind of picking apart what people believe and why, picking apart what I believe, because I'm very big on knowing why you believe what you believe and wanting to know the truth above all, regardless of what form that may take. But yeah, that the song comes from those experiences, talking with friends that used to believe in God and don't anymore, or have just never asked the question before until something big happens in your life that forces you to ask the question, and now you just don't know how to navigate it. It seems to me, Christians can be overly dismissive or negligent toward people like that. So that was what that song was about, was taking those experiences of people that I do actually know and how they've described and shared those with me and putting them in the context of a song. Sport Richard asked, "What's your job?" My job? I'm an analyst. It sounds really freaking boring. It's chill though. It's just a lot of work in Excel. Just basically doing all kinds of numbers except accounting. Super exciting, huh? Barat in Germany wants to know, what do you do full-time? Mentioned that a second ago. Are you planning on changing from your full-time job to do YouTube full-time if it starts working out? I would love to. That would be awesome. That would actually be really, really cool. Just to get personal with y'all for a second. If I could spend my time making music and posting that to YouTube, and also making content that helps illuminate and train people in critical thinking skills and understanding their own thought processes and how to recognize faulty reasoning and how to think more logically in general. If I could spend my time doing that and making YouTube videos on those two subjects, I'd be very happy. But not quite there yet, but I'm working on it. Which country do you live in? I would guess America, but I don't know. But you'd be right. I do live in America. Who inspired you to rap? That's a good question. So while I technically have been a fan of rap since I was 9 or 10, something like that, it was when I was 12 or 13, I want to say, when actually I'll go ahead and tell you the story. I went to my first Major League Baseball game with my best friend and next door neighbor at the time, and had a lot of fun. On our way back, we were sitting in the back seat of his dad's car, and he had this, this was when I was 12 or 13, so this is 13, 14 years ago. Freaking old. And back in the day, you couldn't play music on your phone or whatnot. There was, however, this brand new contraption out called an iPod, one of the thick ones with the buttons, first generation iPod. And he took it out, and he knew that I was a fan of rap at the time, so he was like, "Hey man, you ever listen to Eminem?" And I was like, "No." And so this would have been, if I was 12, that would have been 2003, 2004, something like that. So M had been on the scene for a few years at that point. But being a 12-year-old and having parents that rightfully so hadn't let me listen to him yet, I was like, "No, dude, I know who he is, but I never listened to any of his music." And so he's like, dude, he's like, if you like rap, you need to check this guy out. And he gave me the earbuds, and he put on Mockingbird, and that just, oh my gosh, it blew my mind. It blew my mind because I'd been listening to other rappers for a few years at that point, but I had never heard someone do with rhymes what he did on that song, and it blew me away. And so that's what inspired me to be like, I want to know how this is done, dude. This is crazy. So yeah, hope that answers that. Oh No It's Robo asked, and for anybody who doesn't know, Oh No It's Robo is the 15-year-old kid who was in PewDiePie's video with me. He's got his own channel too, makes music. Check him out if you haven't yet. He wants to know, who are your favorite rappers and what rappers inspired you most? That's a good one. Who are my favorite rappers? Some of my favorite rappers are Bizzle, Eminem, Lecrae, Kendrick Lamar, Lil Dicky. I also like T.I. I've always really liked T.I. I'm not sure why. He's pretty good. And what rappers inspired you most? That one I think is a little bit more in depth because, just like if you're like a basketball player, you have to be good on defense, offense. You have to be good at dribbling, shooting. Right? There's different aspects of being a basketball player. There's also different aspects of to the craft of being a rapper, and I'm inspired by different rappers in different ways, different elements of it. So like obviously Eminem, when it comes to putting rhymes together, like the technical aspect of it, I think he's a genius at that. I like there's a rapper named Bizzle. He's a Christian rapper, but he's really good, like from a technical standpoint, he's really good at taking very like well-structured, organized ideas that like build upon each other and make a point, and or take otherwise complex ideas and fit them into rhymes without sacrificing the complexity of the rhyme scheme. He's very good at that, and that he's an inspiration in that regard. And regardless of whether you agree with his views, he's also very like unashamed, I guess you could say, and like assertive, I suppose, in what he does, which is respectable, I think. Other rappers inspired you most? I think so. Kendrick Lamar, he inspires me in the way that he's so freaking versatile. Like he's able to do a super catchy hook. He's able to go like super poetic and like abstract, or also be very concrete in the way that he delivers his lyrics. He's able to, go with like this new kind of like trap flow, or he's able to put in some like rappity rap type complex rhyme scheme lyricism, like I'm a fan of when he wants to. His versatility, I think that's really inspiring, and also his like how contemporary and relevant he's able to stay. Lil Dicky, this is a little more of an unconventional choice maybe, but I think that Lil Dicky's good at telling stories. I think he's a really good storyteller. I've listened to some of his stuff specifically to study how he tells a story. Whether that's like a fictional story that he's telling for comedic purposes, or narrating a story of his inner monologue about his life or something like that. I think he's very good at that. Of course, Nas is also really good at storytelling and connecting like on a genuine level without sacrificing within the storytelling the aspect of like poeticness, if that's a word, kind of in the same way that Kendrick does, and still maintaining the impressive lyricism technically within his rhyme schemes and whatnot. And finally, Lecrae, I think. I'm also pretty inspired by him because he's a Christian, but he doesn't like being called a Christian rapper because, kind of like I mentioned earlier, he's like basically raps about whatever is happening with his life, and I also think follows the kind of philosophy which makes sense to me, that like if you are a Christian rapper and you're wanting to reach people who aren't Christians, then you can't make music that's just for people who believe in God, because you're kind of literally preaching to the choir at that point. So I appreciate his willingness to, not just like be outside of that box, but also to like risk not being in any box, because in his particular instance, like there's like the Christian circles who don't really want anything to do with him because he associates with secular rappers, and a lot of the non-Christians don't want to have anything to do with him because they have this preconceived notion of him as being cheesy because he's a Christian rapper. So he just doesn't really fit in anywhere, but he still does his thing because he's staying true to his objective as an artist, which is to make honest music. So yeah, there's others, I'm sure, but this video is getting long enough as it is, isn't it? Sydney wants to know, if I were to make videos, could I use your music in my videos? Yes, absolutely. There were a few other people who've asked the same question, and yeah, dude, go ahead. If you wouldn't mind, like, leaving a comment or something, or messaging me with the video, I'd love to see what you make. I'll definitely watch it if you comment or send it to me. But yeah, go ahead. Momo wants to know, how old are you? I'm 26. Gosh, I feel so old saying that. I'm 26 years old, Momo. Do you play any instruments? I don't. I wish I did. I wish I'd gotten started in like piano or violin or something like that. If I could choose any instrument to learn, I'd choose piano. And I might still take piano lessons at some point, but no, I don't. I wish I did. What is your favorite food? That's a freaking hard one, Momo. I don't know. Oh gosh, I don't know. I like Italian food, and I like Asian food. In general. I think those two are my favorite genres. Oh gosh, I really like Mexican food too. I like anything with meat, or cheese, or noodles in it, I think, as a rule. That seems to be like the common thread there. And finally, Mandarin Dragster, regarding the H3H3 theme song rap video, said, when will they see this? And there were several other comments along those lines. Unfortunately, I don't know that they're going to. When I posted it, there were several people, including myself, that tweeted it to them. And there were also, I posted it on their H3H3 subreddit, and it got to the front page of the subreddit, and it stayed there for like a day or two. But what I realized after the fact was that just happened to be the same weekend, or like the day that Donkey, video game Donkey, and his girlfriend were in town for the podcast, and they like all went to Disney World or something like that. The point being, I think that H3 that Ethan and Elon may have just completely missed it. Either that, or they saw it and they didn't like it. Because, you know, they like tend to like respond in some capacity to fan-made stuff like that. I want to be clear, I didn't make the video solely so that they would give me a shout out. It'd be cool if they did. You know, I made the video half for myself and for all the H3H3 fans out there, because I'm as big a H3H3 fan as anybody. Freaking love those guys. They're the reason that I started watching YouTube so much, by the way. But, you know, I also, the other half of the reason that I made it was for them, you know, as a way to say thank you, and kind of make a little compilation of memories and like celebration of their channel and how far they've come. And, you know, so for that reason, I had been kind of hoping that, you know, if nothing else, they would like maybe, I don't know, like reply to a tweet or like leave a comment on it or something like that. So if anybody happens to feel like tweeting the H3H3 theme song rap to Ethan and Hila, and or sending it to them in any other capacity, definitely not going to stop you, because I think, like I said, it would be cool if they saw it. But, you know, at the end of the day, there were a lot of people that saw the video, and a lot of people enjoyed it, so, you know, so that's good. That's all that really matters, I guess. That's it. I think that's it. I think that's all the questions. I shudder to think how long the video is going to be at this point. And again, sorry if I ended up rambling at any point. So yeah, guys, thanks for submitting these questions. This is a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. You know, if you do have any questions that popped into your head while you were watching this that I haven't answered, please feel free to leave those in the comments. And if there are enough questions, I'll do another one of these sometime in the future. If it sucked, let me know that it sucked. I should never do this again. But yeah, leave a like, smash that like button. Please share it if you liked. Like I said, got some more collabs on the way, some more remixes, whatnot, some more original songs. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Y'all are freaking awesome. I still can't fathom the fact that there's almost 2,500 people that have subscribed to my little channel. It just blows my mind. I'm incredibly humbled by that. And yeah, guys, all I can say is thank you. And I hope to be able to do a lot more with this channel as time goes on. So You guys stay awesome. Thanks again. I'll see y'all next time.